Hi, I'm John Parrish. We're live here from CityGrow headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah. So happy you've joined us. Today we're going to be talking about building a contact list, one of the fundamental things in retention strategies. And so we're going to dive into that. Just before we get there, I've got just a couple things, or three things I want to make you guys aware of. Number one, if you have questions or comments, please throw them out there. At the end of a 10 or 15 minute presentation that we have for you, we're going to run through those questions if there are any. You're also welcome to direct message us if you have any questions about things related to you specifically. Number two, this content was purposed for all businesses. And we just want to clarify that because we had a few people asking us if they had to be CityGrow users to get value out of this content. And the answer is actually no. We're purposely creating content to help any business retain their customers and bring customers back. So hopefully this is useful for you. In fact, we do have a channel specifically for CityGrow users. So if you're a CityGrow user specifically, join that one as well, because this one we're going to really focus on content available for everyone. And finally, I will give one quick plug, and this will be the only plug we give to CityGrow. We help thousands of businesses track and bring customers back to their business. If you want to try out the software, we do have a free trial waiting for you at citygrow.com. You're welcome to head over to the website where you can sign up and give it a shot for free. With that said, let's dive into building your contact list. So just a quick note on contact list. So we're a retention marketing company. We've helped thousands of businesses with retention marketing. And the very first thing that we do almost around the clock with every business is we help them grow a contact list. When I say contact list, we're talking about emails, texts, text list, getting data from your customers that are already coming in your store. Those are the ones that we're focusing on bringing back, obviously, so we start with a contact list. To break this down, we monitor three things. The incentive you're giving to join, to add a contact list. That's number one. The placement of where you're asking for that, and I'll break that down, and then the invitation. So those are the three things we're going to run through today, is incentive, placement, and invitation. All right, so incentive. Obviously, this doesn't come as a shock to you that people need to be incentivized to offer their information. It's just habit of humans that we protect our information until you incentivize us to do so. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to decide what your customer is actually worth. What's the lifetime value of your customer? And it's going to be different whether you're a restaurant or retail or a salon. We focus really heavily on brick and mortar. It's going to be different to every one of you, but I'll give you a couple examples. I remember seeing a report, this is years ago when Groupon was just coming out on the market. They reported that they were spending $10 to $20, if not more, on every email that they put in their system. There were fake emails in their system, true emails in their system, all kinds of different emails in their system. That might be the case for one business that says, okay, out of X emails, I make X dollars. We're willing to spend that. Now, I'm not saying everyone should spend $10 on their email. Far from that is actually what my opinion is. But I do think you should look at your lifetime value and decide what's worth giving up. What we see more often is I'm going to give away a free drink if somebody joins my text or email list, or I'm going to give up something small, maybe a discount the very first time they come in for joining. But that's the first one, is we have to incentivize them somehow. Now, with that incentive, you can get fairly creative. And I'll give you a couple examples from businesses we've seen. One of my favorites actually came from an ice cream shop in Southern California who was using our system to capture phone numbers. And they would use current events to really push contacts lists. And I'll give you an example. It was the time of Super Bowl maybe a few years ago. And they would run incentives like, who do you think is going to win? Text blue for this team, text red for this team. They weren't even necessarily running well, there was an incentive as an enter to win. So you could win X amount of ice cream if you got the right team who won. They built up hundreds of phone numbers in just the week that they ran the promotion, just for getting creative and having a way that people could text in to do that. Now, whether you use a text-in, whether you use a digital platform like we offer with a kiosk, whether you're just paper and pencil, there's a lot of different ways to capture phone numbers, but you need to start, or emails. So start your contact list, come up with an incentive to do that. That's one great way to do it. But again, the standard that we see is just a standing offer for somebody joining a network. Free drink, free cookie, a discount of some sort the very first time they come in. What's your customer worth to you, and how much are you willing to do to get that contact? All right, let's talk about placement. When I talk about placement, I'm not just talking about where you ask, but also when you ask. So let's walk through a customer experience. A customer walks into your business. If you put a sign right at the very beginning that says, hey, sign up for our VIP list, you got to really think through your customer's mindset as, are they willing to do that? Do they have enough information? Have they tried your product yet? Have they shopped at your retail outfit, or if maybe you're a salon? Have they used your product? Maybe not. Maybe you wait a little longer. Now, take the end scenario. On the way out, are they in a rush to get out? Are you asking for it then? We actually get most of our signups right at the register. It's our favorite place to do so, and that actually comes with the invitation as well. But think in context of your user, when's the appropriate time to ask them? Now, not only that, but we've seen people who have put their collection box or their capturing method, whether it's a poster or whatnot, in a corner. Obviously, you need traffic to see it if you're going to build that list. So you got to ask yourself, where and when do I want to ask them for their list? I'd also suggest that you maybe look at multi-channels, and I'll give you an example from a local IHOP here in Salt Lake that we were helping build their network. They have a waiting room for people to get in, then they get seated. Well, they had one place, it was a collection box where you could fill out a paper form, put it in the box, and it wasn't performing like they thought it would. So we put in some multiple channels where you walk in, you see a poster that says, here's the incentive, join the VIP club. I think they called it the Pancake Revolution. So you could sign up, put it in the box right there. Well, with the multi-channel, we had the poster. We didn't expect a lot of people would get it from the poster, but they would at least see that it's available. So they walk in, they look at the poster, see that it's available, not a lot of sign-ups there. They then go to the waiting room. Now, depending on the busyness of the restaurant, they either sat in the waiting room, which is where we usually got people to sign up the form then, or they get seated right away. And a lot of times they were getting seated right away. So the second channel we had was a kiosk in the waiting room where people could digitally put in their information. And again, if you don't use CityGrow, you could do that with a paper and pencil or a form, sign-up form. They could put their information in there then, or they get seated. We also put a table tent, just a quick visual, where they could text in to get a registration form. So they would take their phone, they would text IHOP or whatever the keyword is. It would send back a link that says, thanks for registering. Just to note, by that, just that far, you got their phone number. You also got what time of day they came in, whether they're lunch users or dinner users, all just by having them text in. It's also a great way for consent, which we'll get into at a later time. But then the form would come back and they could complete more information like email, name, that kind of thing. So now we've got three channels. We had the very first poster that when we walked in, we saw it there. A lot of times that didn't capture them, but it made them aware of it. So they saw it the second time in the waiting room. Then most of them were actually filled out at the table. A fourth one that we've tested and have seen some good results is if you have some hands-on experience, like the store manager coming in and asking them about it, they were able to say, hey, were you able to join the VIP club? How do you like it? That's a fourth contact. So multiple channels definitely drives that up. Okay, I think that covers placement for me. We're talking about where and when during placement, not just where it's at, but when do you ask them throughout the time that they're with you. The last one is really key, and we use the 80-20 rule here is because if you have it, you usually get 80%. If you don't, you get 20% of your customers that are willing to give you information. But it's the rule of invitation. Now, with invitation, there's a couple different ways to do that. And notice when I say invitation, I really mean that invitation to join your program, not a sales pitch. You don't need to train your employees to sell people on it, which you can. There's always incentives for it. In fact, if you provide a good incentive, it brings a natural invitation. But really just being perfect at inviting people to join. And let me give you a couple examples. My favorite way of invitation is systematizing the whole process. So let's say you have a business. Not all businesses can do this, by the way, but a lot of them can. Let's say you have a business that requires an application, maybe like a bounce house or a shooting range or something that requires you to actually fill out information. By putting the contact authorization or consent directly in that form, now you can turn your waiver system into a marketing channel. or you can turn whatever process that is into a marketing channel because you're collecting your list, you're growing your list through that. My favorite way is if you can find some kind of process that requires them to insert it, or at least answer the question. They don't always say yes, contact me, but they have to answer the question yes or no. That's my favorite way. The second part is more training, optimizing for training. And you'll notice big box stores are really good at this. Local to us, Staples is really good at this. Ace Hardware is really good at this, where you know every time you go through the line, they're asking you what your phone number is. Again, they're not pitching you on, hey, you have to give it to us. They're just asking you. And by nature of asking, you're going to get a lot of people that say, yeah, sure, I'll connect with you. So it's simply an invitation. And again, if you just left something on the counter or a poster, I expect to see at most 10 or 20% of people participating. If you make it certain that every employee asks and invites people to participate with your VIP club or your loyalty club or your text list or email list, it's not rare that we see upwards of 70-80% of people opting into those. So make sure you give an invitation. All right. So we've covered really the building blocks of building contact lists, making sure there's an incentive, making sure you got the right placements and invitations. If you do those three things, we guarantee that you can build your list and it'll be really effective for retaining customers in your business. All right, so we're at a point where I'd love to see if we have any questions. We've got Derek behind the scenes over here going to help us with those. What do you got, Derek?
Yeah, so we've got one from Kyle.
Okay.
What do you recommend is a good way to build up your texting list for a sporting goods store?
Great question. So retail, again, it goes back to these three things, but you have to look at it with the eyes focused to a retail business, right? So in retail, we've seen a few. I would really suggest multi-channel. I really like the incentive. It was actually the one example I gave was from a restaurant. It was from an ice cream parlor who used which team do you think is going to win? Text in to get the winner. So in that case, they had two keywords. Let's call it the blue team and the red team. What they did is they said it was during a big week like playoffs, or this next month you have March Madness, might be a really cool time to build your list. But you see what's going on in the current events. You choose a couple teams and you build those two keywords, and then you create a buzz around it. You can even put this out on social media, in store, posters, whatnot. Once you have the keywords, it's really cheap to execute this. Then you say, hey, win a $20 gift card or a $50 gift card. You could probably A/B test with your customers to see which is going to drive them. But have them text, if you think the blue team's going to win, text blue. If you think the red team's going to win, text red. We'll text you the winner after the game, and you'll be entered to win a gift card. So that's one idea. Again, if you can get something at the point of purchase, specifically in a retail environment where somebody comes up and maybe it's a small add-on that doesn't cost you a lot to give away, but they get it only if they're a part of the text list. CityGrow users can use things like our digital kiosk. If you're not a CityGrow user, you can use like a fill out the form. Any way you can get it at the register. The nice thing about the register is you can also extend that invitation right there. Works really well. Hopefully that helps in your retail environment. Really, you just go through this list of incentivize placement invitation with regards to your business and your industry, and some of these ideas might come about.
Perfect. Well, Mark's wondering how many contacts you typically will get added over a certain amount of time. Like, what's the average?
Yeah, good question. So on that note, if you'll write into us, we actually have a document that we can share with you by industry how many we see. But I would really focus on getting half or more of your customers that come through the door to join the list. And you're going to do that by executing these three things. It's not uncommon for us to see in the first 2 to 3 months a list per location list of 1,000 plus. I'm really excited if I get to see a single location that adds 500 people to their network in the first month. That's our benchmark of you're doing awesome. I think you're doing really good if you're in that 200, 300, 400 range. A lot of it depends on traffic that's coming through. Obviously, some businesses are higher in traffic than others, but you should definitely be seeing several thousand your first 12 months of doing business.
Awesome. We have one more, it looks like.
Cool.
From Derek, let's see. How do you know how to get your customers' consent before sending them any sort of text message or other promotion?
Yes, great question. In fact, I should hammer on that a lot more. the worst thing that you could do is build this phenomenal list, a text list or a phone number list or an email list, and then realize that you didn't get consent to reach out to you. In fact, we'll have a whole lot of videos related just to this. We have a few blogs about it. But consent's the name of the game, especially with new regulations in text and email marketing. You've got to have consent. And in our opinion, it's just the best practice. There's a lot of spam that goes out there right now. Our goal is not to spam people. It's to be as relevant as possible. Consent's really the way you do that. So I would start with a checkbox. There is some best practices and some regulations that you want to put specifically on your sign-up forms for text marketing. You can get that on CityGrow. If you Google CityGrow text regulations, you'll see a blog post that has all of this pulled out from you. Otherwise, there's other sources that you can get it, but that's an easy one that I know of. Make sure you get it. It's a whole lot easier to get it now than get 2,000 numbers in your database and realize that you didn't ask permissions for that. So, cool.
Do we have maybe time for one more?
Yeah, we got one more.
This is from Craig St. Clair. What types of text offers drive customers in? Our offers are not bringing anyone in. All right, good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. And you also got to consider kind of the goal. So we have some campaigns that are directly related to awareness of campaigns, where your whole goal is to create awareness maybe of a new product or a new flavor if it's a food place. The ones that drive the most, it's hard to say. I hate to go back to the answer being A/B test it. What we'll do when we set someone up on CityGrow is we look at 4 standard campaigns. We try to make them really relevant to the business. So when somebody comes in, we'll use a bounce back offer the very first time they come in. That'll come in, send out almost immediately and say, thanks for coming in, come back within 7 days and get XYZ. What we find is really successful is at the end of the 7 days, I don't expect a lot of people to have come in unless I send them a reminder text on that 7th day that says, hey, just so you know, last day to get this. If you can use the word free, what we see redemptions go up. Even if it's buy one, get one free, buy two, get one free. Try to use that word free in there. That really makes a difference. That reminder text, now you're going to have to send out 2 because you got the initial one. Then on the last day, you have just a reminder. It's really nice if you can get that to people who didn't use it already. Some platforms let you do that, some don't. But getting it really relevant. So that's the first one we do. The next 2 actually that we do are all about timing. And this is all in the name to get relevant messages to people. The more relevant, the higher the percentages. We'll do a 2-week offer is pretty standard for us, where if we haven't seen you in 2 weeks, automatically go out. You're going to go up if you send them at the same time that they came in originally. So, for example, if you got my phone number at lunch, probably tells you I'm a lunch customer. Let's say that I work an hour, I commute into work, and I only shop at your store or use your product or visit your salon on my lunch break. Well, you can send me texts at night all day long. I'm probably not going to use them unless they hit me around the time that I came in originally. So the next 2, the 2 that I'm talking about, are relevancy based on the time you came in. If we haven't seen you back, we'll give you a promotion. If it's been a while since we've seen you back, we'll increase the promotion. So that really helps. And then the last one we do is really a request to get more info. And these are the standard ones. There's a lot of other ones that we do. The request for more information is usually we try to optimize at like different time periods after they come in. Let's say I came in and I leave and I get a text while I'm driving, and that text says complete this form for a free birthday discount or whatever. Maybe it's a birthday club form. If I'm driving, I probably put it in my pocket and I don't remember it. So we'll set one up to go at a different time the next day if you didn't click the form in. And again, this is one that takes a third-party technology like CityGrow or others that allows you to track what's happening. But if you can get really relevant on time, did they use the last message? Some people respond to different incentives. So if you can get really relevant based on what you've sent, the time, your chances of getting redemptions go up.
You have another one.
Okay.
If you have some contacts with just text information and others with emails, how often should you contact them, and should you send to both?
Definitely send to both, because it's just so hard to say. There are some people that respond really well to email. A lot of this goes with age demographics, so the answer might change with respect to how often do I send text versus email, with what age demographics my list contains of. you definitely want to be sending both. And the nice thing about that is you can kind of watch and see who responds to both. So if I send out 1,000 texts and 1,000 emails, and I see the majority of people on text, maybe I had 50 people respond to my text and 3 people respond to my email. Well, naturally I would think text works better, but if I can send 4 emails for the cost of the text, or 5 emails to the cost of the text, and people aren't opting out, then I'm going to send a text with my emails. I'm going to send both of them, and I'll probably do 2 to 4 texts in a month, but I might do 4 to 8 emails. So send both, track results on both sides. If your system allows you to, if you're sending from the same system, which a lot of people send from 2 different systems, so it'd be a little bit harder, but you can group people by what they responded to in a lot of systems. So send both. If they clicked on your email, group them as your email cluster. If they responded to text, group them accordingly. Okay, thanks for being with us again. We're live here at City Grow. We'll be live again next week. Okay, thanks.